Hello, welcome to Dead End Street. I'm Al, and we are joined this week by our resident hard rock and metal expert, Bry, because we are doing the ranking of the albums of Iron Maiden, 17 studio albums, starting with the self-titled album and going all the way up to the latest Senjutsu. Um, so, Bry, what is your familiarity with Iron Maiden?
um, I did hear of them. No, I'm like probably not like your ultra mega like fan club joining fan, but I have every album. Since I'm in my early teen life, I probably had every album the day it came out or soon after. I've seen them on just about every tour of my adult life.
For me, I bought Peace of Mind when I was 10 years old. Um, and I was a casual fan from there up until about like 88. And then I kind of just lost track because my musical taste expanded and you know. So what that means is I'm hearing a good chunk of this discography for the first time.
Wow,
So
that's cool.
for for like your general Iron Maiden fan. So and I'm not even really sure like what the consensus is amongst Maiden fans. I mean, I have a general idea of like what the the classic ones, but I don't know what their general consensus is of like the middle era and the later era. So I'm going to do my best, what was good up to my ears.
Mhm.
And then, the Maiden fans can roast me if they want, or maybe I'm right. Maybe like they hear it the same way I do. So
Yeah, I'm very interested to hear that coming from someone that was, a little familiar with the classic up until the late '80s, and then kind of didn't pay much attention, and then you keep listening to a lot of that again. Well, a lot of it for the first time, and a lot of it you probably barely remember. So what's kind of
yeah,
cool.
like
It's very kind of
even the
cool.
older stuff, like I mean, I haven't heard since like I was some of these I haven't heard since I was like 14 years old.
Nice.
So I'm getting a totally different perspective on those, and so let's see how this goes. Well, maybe we can save a little bit of time here.
And knock a little bit
Um,
off quick.
do we both have the same bottom two albums?
I'm
Is that safe
fairly
to say?
certain. And as a Maiden fan, I'd probably say 99% of Iron Maiden fans worldwide would have the same two albums as their last two rated studio albums, if they even would include them in a list.
Right.
So
Okay. So I'm going to go. I don't know if you have it the same order, but my 17 is Virtual 11 and my 16 is X Factor.
I'm right there with you, exactly the
Okay.
same. Now, that being said, I don't hate those albums. And in
Okay.
fact, not a lot of people are with me here, but I did see them live touring for the X Factor. And
Wow.
the reason I took that up is because it was a club tour, because Bruce Dickinson left, so they played a medium-sized club tour. I saw Iron Maiden at the Electric Factory. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
in
So
Philly, it's a very medium sized like warehouse type venue. I just thought that the it was the writing was uninspired, and I just felt like they were kind of going through the motions, and I just find it hard to believe that that was the best that guy they could find to replace Bruce Dickinson.
yes, enough about those albums. I'm right there with you in the ranking. Number 15 is from '03, Dance of Death.
Okay.
What's it's the for that for me was is probably the one of the few Maiden. Now I think I'll also add that there's not really a bad album on this whole list. It's Maiden. Their worst album is going to be better than what I think most rock, metal guys can do. Like they're veterans, they're pros. That there's nothing really bad, but that album never really grabbed me. I tried to listen a few times. It was one of I think the only song on there for me that maybe stood out a little bit was Passchendaele. Cool song, interesting, it's memorable. A lot of that album for me is not memorable, but it's if it's on, I'll jam to it. So what was your next one? Your what,
Well,
15?
my number 15 is A Matter of Life and
Okay.
Death.
Was that
So
okay? Go ahead.
when I'm listening to it and I'm going, well, I'm not sure what I want them to do. Because sometimes I feel like I want them to try something new. And then when they try something new, I go, no, go back.
Go back to what you were doing.
Go back to what you're doing. I don't know, 60%. I feel like 60% of all their songs are generally about war and battles and glory.
It's a safe area for their fan base.
Yeah, but I have a hard time just sometimes relating. So I mean, there's a large chunk of the discography here that I feel like I want more topics to be touched, and this album's really deep into the war.
Yeah, it's more of a, I think most of it, if not all of it, it is kind of a loose concept album.
I mean, I find myself relating more to things like Wasted Years, where it's like basically has like a feeling, like a human emotion in there. And I'm fully aware of the fact that Adrian Smith wrote that, and it's not Steve Harris.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's mostly forgettable. I think it's the other thing, the main thing about this album I don't like is the detuned guitars. I felt that they've gone that up to that point, that far in their careers without doing it, and getting all the way up to the 2000s and then start doing it. I felt it was like, it was unneeded. Iron Maiden doesn't need to tune their guitars down. So that's my 14.
14 for me was Final Frontier from 2010. I'll add that I think it's an excellent album to put on and jam to. It has a kind of a more of a classic rock vibe. It has an arena vibe to it. It's a cool album, but I've tried maybe 10 times to just concentrate and listen to the album, and I never remember anything from it. I'll know it when I hear it, but it doesn't stand out to me. It doesn't have that memorable feel. It has that feel like I want to have beers and see this in a huge arena and rock out to it, but I won't remember any of it. So
interesting. Okay. Well, my number 14, we're a little bit in lockstep here. My number 14 is Dance of Death.
Okay.
Is
there anything that stuck out for you on that one that you liked?
Well, what stuck out was that it's the worst album cover I've ever seen. Terrible album.
Worse than the X Factor.
Yeah,
it might be. It
is worse than the X Factor. Yes, it's worse. But I do have to say the first two tracks I thought were pretty cool, straight and to the point. Wildest Dreams and Rainmaker.
Right.
Kind of a 1-2 punch. And I thought No More Lies was a cool song. It gets stuck in your head.
I believe they do that. They play that live still.
Okay, well that would make sense because that one sticks out on the album.
Yes.
After that, the album just kind of falls off. It's like one long song after another, and but I did notice the title track kind of sounded like Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. Okay.
And I thought Passchendaele was interesting, but it has the weirdest guitar tone I've ever heard
It
in
does.
the beginning. That is so weird. I'm not sure what it's video games. I don't know what it is, but it's a weird tone. Anyway, Dance of Death, number 14.
All right. Yeah, that's okay. We're getting through you're right in there with probably a Maiden fan mostly. I think Matter of Life and Death one was a strange choice, but so for where are we at? Number 14. I did Senjutsu, the most recent album, and I think that falls in the same line for me as Final Frontier. I like the album. I loved the single. So they did the thing that it felt a little old school to me. Like they released the single like months before the album came out. That they threw the video out online. Everyone saw the video. They had this epic, really cool animated video that probably some famous animator that does stuff like that did. Like it looked familiar to me, you know, like every era probably has someone that had these guys do their video. It looked really cool. It had a real deep feeling to it. The song kicked ass. It was great. I got the album, listened to it a few times, and you know, went back and put a classic one on. So it hasn't
Yep.
really stuck with me like some of the others. So, but it's still great. It's excellent. Just not one I'm going to put on anytime soon, I think.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because my number 13 is Sinjitsu. I don't know. The way I look at it, I mean, this album, there's a lot of lazy melody lines. I feel like Bruce kind of just sings along with the riffs. Like the melody line is the guitar riff.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Way too many long songs,
yeah.
way too many songs. Um,
Yeah,
the
that's
title
one of
track,
their longest albums, I think, is
it
possibly.
is. It's over 90 minutes long or something like that. It's really
Mhm.
long. And a lot. Stratego kind of sounds like Power Slave, like in a way.
You're not the
Um,
first to say that. It's supposed to kind of conjure those feelings up a little.
I felt that I did thought that the use of the acoustic guitars and the chorus on the bass on a couple of the tracks was interesting new textures for Maiden that I hadn't heard from them before. Um, but like I kind of feel with some of these later albums, not all of them, but I feel that it's kind of like you have the main problem, whereas you listen to it and go, oh, well, you know, that song kind of sounds like Children of the Damned. And while you're listening to it, you go, I want to go listen to Children of the Damned. You turn it off and you go put it on Children of the Damned, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, that's my number 13, Sinjitsu.
E12 was Matter of Life and Death.
Okay.
Um, and I did like it a lot. It pained me to have you see here you have it so far down on the list. It is different. But I remember when I saw them on that tour, of course, and after that tour is what started the whole doing a celebrating of the Somewhere Back in Time tour things they started doing, because I think a lot of fans might have been a little angry because they toured and they played this album in its entirety. And that was
Right.
their show. And there was a lot of fans like, I want to hear Power Slave. I want to hear the Trooper, you know, like what's going on here? But it was pretty cool. It was a little deep for the time. Some of the lyrics are really like, it is about that war thing, but if you really listen deep, it could be a good novel if you read some of the songs and how deep they get with the thoughts, and it's a little bit more thoughtful for a Maiden album. So it was cool. I like the artwork. I like the feel at the time. I like what they were going at the time. It was pretty cool to listen to, and I still will put it on once in a while. So I do like that one. These Colors Don't Run is a great song. That's a chant song. That's like a really get you pumped up kind of song. I like that one. So that was for me.
All right. Well, my number 12. I'm not sure if this might bother people. I don't know. It might. I don't know.
You're gonna start
My number
different
12.
now.
My number 12 is Brave New World.
Ooh.
Um, Now I understand. I mean, Wicker Man it's a Maiden classic now. I mean, from what I understand, it's a staple in their set, and it should be. It's a very good Iron Maiden song. I have to say, I hate the production on this
Really?
album. Yeah,
Yeah. It was that year
it
2000.
has that whole 2009, 1999 sound to it, and it's just everything just sounds so separated and flat, and I don't know. Ghost of the Navigator has a different bridge chorus progression that I thought was kind of cool for them.
Mm,
But I feel like, I mean, after when they got back together with Bruce, I think from this point on, instead of being a rock band with prog elements, it kind of became a prog band with rock elements most of the time.
yeah. I would agree with that.
So it was kind of a turning point in their career, because I think once they got back to, for a while they were just kind of playing off of what they accomplished with this record, and they kind of moved from there instead of moving from the classic era. They've kind of trailed back in some spots, but for the most part, I think Fallen Angel kind of reminds me of something that might have been on Piece of Mind.
Sure.
Dream of Mirrors starts off really cool, and then it just loses me because it's just way too long. It's like almost 10 minutes long or something like that.
You start dozing off by about minute 7.
Yeah, but I mean, I know it's supposed to be their big triumphant return album, and then I can see why. But for the most part, that's kind of where I place it.
Yeah,
That was
in 2000, when Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith came back and they were said an album's coming and a world tour's coming, I think they could have came out on stage and dropped a turd and people would have been happy.
Probably.
but
Probably. What's your number 11?
Number 11. Oh yeah, this is where I'm gonna differ probably than a lot of Maiden fans, because I had to make some tough choices here for going on, and I think about what I listen to the most, I had to take albums and think about how many albums are left where I like every song and I really like every song, and this next album wasn't it for me, so I'm going to go with Bruce Dickinson's debut, A Number of the Beast. Yeah, that is my I mean, it's
okay. Well, the heat's off me. I don't have to worry about that no more. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
I doubt
I
you
thought I was going to get in trouble. Okay,
no.
go ahead.
Yeah, I had to really make some tough choices here, but
Woo!
I mean, it's a classic album. It's excellent. It has some of their best songs they ever did. There's no doubt there. Like, if I had to hear Run to the Hills one more time because of how big it is, and it's
Okay, so I mean, basically, is this just overexposure that you're just kind of like tired of it?
a little bit. I gotta say, when I was young and became a Maiden fan, I had to go back into their catalog because of my age. So I discovered them probably in became a fan in 86, 87. Or,
Mhm.
I remember Somewhere in Time came out. I didn't really know their stuff at that point. I was excited about Who Made Who by AC/DC coming out. So, and I know everyone was buying this new Somewhere in Time, and everyone had their back patches and their boom boxes, and they were all excited and sleeping out for tickets. And I didn't know what it was all about. And then I started, hearing some of the stuff and got into it. But for me, going back and getting the classics, when Number of the Beast rubbed me the wrong way. It was like the Number of the Beast song. Now I know it's been said a million times. It's not. It's, if you know the story of the song, yes, it's about a dream. It's supposed to be kind of like a horror thing. It's not a satanic song or whatever. And I think that might be, in this day and age, people will be like, well, that's cool, I like them now, but as a 13-year-old kid, it rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like that. I was like, no, I don't really like that. And then Run to the Hills was on like the radio and MTV like every day. I heard the song like probably 4 or 5 times. It's
Right.
an excellent song, but I've had enough of it. I'm good from this point on. But Hallowed Be Thy Name is probably one of my favorite Maiden songs that they've ever done. So there's excellent songs on it. It's just not, for me, it's not a top tier album.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you have Number of the Beast at number 11. I'm good. I can go ahead and right now and say that Seventh Son of the Seventh Son is my number 11.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. I don't know if that can ever be said, but okay.
Yeah. So here's my thought. In the 80s, a lot of the rock bands kind of started like experimenting with synths and synth sounds and synth guitars and stuff. I kind of thought the Rush stuff with synths on their guitars was kind of cool. Even the Priest stuff, when I was a kid, I thought that was kind of cool. Van Halen with synths, okay. I do not like synths with Iron Maiden.
Really?
It just doesn't. I don't get it. The guitar tones on this album, and there's another album that has similar guitar tones in it that just drives me crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so this album is one. And I'll just run down. I mean, I think Can I Play with Madness is probably my favorite song on the album.
Interesting.
I think okay, so Infinite Dreams is kind of like the lesser good version of lesser little brother of Revelations.
Okay. Okay. It falls in like the same spot on the album. It has kind of the same tempo-y kind of build up.
Yeah. The Seventh Son, I'm pretty sure the title track, I'm pretty sure the whole intro is an old Genesis song.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have to go back and find out which one it is, but I remember hearing it. I just feel like this album is like their most sing-songiest. A lot of like floating choruses, not a real lot of bite or teeth on this record. And I just feel that the guitar tones are just really soft. And it's hard for me. I gotta be listening the whole time I listen to it. It just bothered me. I feel like the tone of the guitars ruined the album for me.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's my number 11, Seventh
That,
Son of a
that's
Seventh
an
Son.
interesting perspective. Okay. So wow, I'm gonna come back to that when we get there. But interesting. My number 10 is where we're going to start changing the lineup a little bit and delving into what was Maiden, what I think Maiden is, what is popular. For me, it was the first album, Iron Maiden from 1980. It's my number 10. Excellent album, established who they were, paved the way for what was going to come. Has has their title song on it. Some great stuff. But do I often put it on and listen through as an album? Not really.
Okay.
So that's my 10.
All right. Well, number 10 for me is going to be the other album with that guitar tones that I can't take, is Somewhere in Time.
That hurts my heart. Wow. Okay.
It's just the guitar tone. I just don't know what it is. There's no bite to it. The guitar
Would you
sounds
call it like over processed? It had that mid 80s
way over.
over
Yes.
processed effects and everything blended
Yes. I mean,
together.
there's nothing heavy about either one of these albums.
Okay.
It's just like and you know me, we've known each other forever. I do like melody, especially when it comes to hard rock and metal. When it comes to that, I think I kind of want like melodic stuff, but it's just too much. There's
Too
no
much.
teeth.
There's too
Yeah,
much.
there's no teeth or bite to these songs. I mean, for the exception of, I love Wasted Years. Wasted Years is one of the top Maiden songs for me. Sea of Madness is a good song. I think I remember liking Heaven Can Wait more when I was younger. I'm not sure what the hell a Loneliness of a Long Distance Runner is. But it didn't resonate with me. Stranger in a Strange Land, cool song, but I don't know what it is about the guitars. I just don't know what it is. I don't know. I thought the guitar sounded wimpy. So number 10, Somewhere in Time.
All right, so I'm gonna go with my number 9. Following up on my last entry, it's going to be Killers. From 81, I find Killers to me a slightly more together and polished album than their first album. It's got some more complex songwriting and some more memorable songwriting for me, some more staples, and then some more off the wall stuff, some stuff that they haven't really revisited in sound since that I found interesting, like what do I have? I made a note here because some of these you come back to and they are classics. Killers, the title track is a cool song. It has some unique stuff that they did in it at the time. And I always liked Prodigal Son. Really interesting, different sing along. Like Paul was great. They had a thing going on. It's an excellent album, but it's probably more chance of me popping that on and listening to the whole thing than the first one. But that's very good.
Okay, cool. Well, my number 9 is going to be No Prayer for the Dying.
Woo.
Now, I do have to say, what I did like about this album is after those last 2 albums,
that's definitely a drastic difference.
It's a return to a much rawer sound. I think the guitars are much heavier, but they're on the right track here. But I think the songwriting needed to go one more step. We'll get to there, but I kind of, but I mean, did you know, I was doing like some research. Did you know that Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter was a #1 single in England? On the
No, but
pop chart,
I'm not surprised by it.
on the pop charts,
Sure.
#1.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing.
And
And that
but
may
it was
have,
weird. It was kind of weird too. Bruce sings a little bit weird on this album, like a lot of real throaty stuff.
Brody raspy, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I kind
Right. Yeah, all really rough at this point. For me, it was Book of Souls. As I'm wearing the shirt. I love the album. I was at this show. It was great. I saw them twice on this tour. I had the joy of visiting Philly, visiting where I grew up and seeing everyone and going to see them there and then flying home and seeing them the following week in Florida. So 2 weeks in a row, I saw this show and it was excellent. It's great album. So many good songs on it. And especially for being like, they're still to know they can still put out albums that are really solid from beginning to end was nice. So I like that one. I will note that I think I might be wrong. I think this album has their longest song they've ever done, which was the beautiful Empire of the Clouds at the end.
it is.
And it's
That's a long song.
About airships.
That is a long song.
Yes, it's a very long song. You can learn a lot of things from listening to Maiden songs. You got the history element.
A lot of history lessons going on.
There is. It's good. So I do like that one a lot, and was my number, my 8, right? Number 8. So what is your? Where are we at?
All right, number 8. My number 8 is Power Slave.
Wow. Wow.
Now, I will start out by saying I think this is honestly the best sounding album of the classic era. I think production-wise, I think this is the best sounding they ever were.
Excellent.
I think the 1-2 punch at the beginning of the album of Aces High and 2 Minutes of Midnight is a great 1-2 punch. I don't get lost for words. I'm Flash of the Blade. Flash of the Blade sounds like another Genesis song.
Oh, really?
Power Slave, which even now listening to it never dawned on me back in the day because I don't know why, but now it reminds me of Rainbow. It really does. And I know that like Purple is kind of an influence on them, but I still don't like Back in the Village. I didn't like Back in the Village when I was a kid.
Wow.
I still don't like it. And Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, I know is a Maiden staple. Not necessarily one of my preferred tracks, but I get why it is.
I learned a lot from that song.
Yeah, it's the thing, man. The history lessons. I feel like I'm getting hit over. I feel like I'm in a classroom sometimes when I'm listening to these fucking albums. But I don't know. There's about 3 or 4 songs on there that I kind of dug, and the rest of it was just kind of,
Okay.
Power Slave, number 8.
Interesting one. There are probably people out there that would fight someone over putting Power Slave anywhere other than number 1. 7, and I've got. I almost hate saying it. Every one of these at this point, I'm gonna be like, damn it, this is a great album. But Fear of the Dark. Fear of the Dark in '92. I remember. So the issue with that was when it started to fall off for me, because being a Maiden fan, it got really into Maiden, and then hear them kind of seeing them drop the stage set and the theatrics and the production and going simpler and kind of, I don't know, maybe Bruce not being fully there. Just kind of dialing it in a little bit, looking to maybe like, I'm going to get into, at least that's the way I felt and saw it back then. At that age, I wanted more. I wanted the next one to be heavier and greater and a bigger theme going on. And they kind of dialed it back, and obviously they did that with, leading up to that point. But I remember not being into the album at all when it came out. And as years went on and I gave it more listens, it's become like a classic for me. It's excellent. The song "Fear of the Dark" is, you're not going to see Maiden play without playing that song. It's in their encore set usually. It's excellent. And everyone sings along with it. They sing along the guitar parts and they hum the solo, and it's good stuff. So that's my okay.
So my 7 is going to be Final Frontier.
That got up there for you.
Yeah. It's funny too, because when we started doing this, you mentioned to me, you said, I think you're gonna like Final Frontier.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I started listening to it. I'm like, this is kind of cool. So it opens up kind of weird with this weird kind of marchy drum thing, and then it just starts to rock after that. The title track is like a great, like classic rock type, UFO type riff, kind of reminds me of. Mother of Mercy, I think, is a really cool song too. Memorable hook. The Man Who Would Be King. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Children of the Damned, but then it kind of goes off in a different direction. But mostly the album held my attention, and I was kind of surprised by that. So, Final Frontier, number 7.
Number 6 for me was No Prayer for the Dying.
Yeah.
And that was one. I know, like you said, it was a little odd with the songwriting. It was another one that I think it was the biggest disappointment for me at the time when it came out, because of how drastically different it was. They'd done Seventh Son, and then this was their next album, I believe. Is that right? What year was it? No Prayer for the Dying. Yeah, it was 90. It was 1990 this came out.
Yeah.
So they followed up Seventh Son with this, like you said, and it was so drastically different and pared down. And I remember being really upset and angry at the time. But then the album, then the album grew on me. I mean, I saw them on this tour. Sure, I did. I was like, damn you, but I'm going to see you and take my money. And I saw them with Anthrax, and it was an excellent show. It was right up with one of those times I got up really close, got to see it, got to rock out. And this album grew a lot on me, and obviously it's my number 6. It's up there. It's some of the songs on this. Like, I even love Hooks in You. There's going to be a lot of Maiden fans saying, like, that's an okay album here and there, but Holy Smoke and Hooks in You, they're awful. I'm like, no, that's a great song. And if you heard that song and it was anyone else other than Maiden was doing it, it probably would get radio play. It's my thought. It's a good song. Okay. Number 6, No Prayer for the Dying.
My number 6. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, if you think about what albums you haven't heard me say yet.
Yeah.
Number 6, and I was very surprised with Book of Souls. I thought this was a really cool, daring, brave album for them to do this late in their career. I don't know. If Eternity fails, if Eternity should fail, it might be one of their best songs. I mean,
it's pretty awesome.
It's a good song. Bruce's, I'm going to say this album is probably Bruce's best vocal album.
Really?
Going back probably to like maybe even like Power Slave. Like, I mean, his voice is in tip top shape here, and like it's none of that throaty stuff. It's all real, like soaring and powerful.
Yeah, I could see that.
The title track, the first couple of seconds of it, really reminds me of Roundabout by Yes. But still pretty cool song. I
like that, Speed of Light on that song, on that album.
Yep, Speed of Light. I thought Shadows of the Valley really kind of has a very similar riff to Wasted Years. At the beginning.
That might be by design. It's got a little bit of those, like, they hit that point in their career where they get a little bit of callbacks, a little bit of echoey, like, hey, remember this kind of stuff going on, and it sparks something in someone. It brings out the nostalgia factor. It's cool.
Yep. Yeah, and I thought that, like, they wore a little bit more of their influences on their sleeve on this album. instead of just kind of doing like the generic Maiden stuff every single time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're doing different stuff, you know. So you kind of hear different. You hear like Jethro Tull, you hear Thin Lizzy, you hear UFO. I do have to say some of the songs are just a little, not a little bit. Some of them are just a lot too long.
A lot too long.
But and it's a long album.
Yeah.
And I did towards the end kind of get like, but I was impressed by the idea. I was very impressed with the musicianship. I was very impressed with Bruce's vocals on the record. I was very confused by having a song called Tears of a Clown. I was kind of, I thought that they really do a cover of Smokey Robinson. Obviously, it is not a cover of Smokey Robinson.
You gladly figured that out.
Yeah. But like I said, man, it's very interesting and cool album for them not to rest on their laurels like that late. I mean, when was that? Book of Souls was
2015, I think.
2015.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
that wasn't that
35
long
years
ago.
in, still
Mhm.
doing, still interested in doing different stuff. You know, but what was the whole, which Eddie is that? Is that Mayan Eddie? Is that what we're doing there?
Yeah, it was like an Aztec-y Mayan thing. There was some kind of a little bit of a story there with stuff. I don't quite remember, but it was the idea.
Yeah.
It did
Running out of Eddies, you realize. They're
yeah,
running out of Eddies.
yeah, good, you know. I don't know, you can always find a little something.
We're gonna have Eskimo Eddie.
There might be because they've started introducing. They had to come up with a lot more Eddie ideas recently because now they have games and stuff. Like there's like a mobile game and there's something else, and there's like little things where you can unlock new Eddies. So they got to just keep coming up with more ideas.
You have Eskimo
Resurrecting
Eddie.
old ones.
We
Yeah,
can have we had what Senjutsu was a samurai Eddie, correct?
yeah.
Um, we had Mummy Eddie, we had Brain Surgery Eddie, we had Frozen Eddie,
What would you call Final Frontier Eddie? He was like
Space Eddie,
Space Eddie, Space Astronaut Eddie. All right. So for my number 5, we're going to go with Brave New World. Brave New World was an excellent return to form. I think I'd mentioned earlier that they could have taken a jump on stage and made the fans ecstatic. But that being said, we waited for this album. It came out. It delivered. The first 4 or 5 songs on this album are like an endless onslaught of like Maiden is back. And then I had the pleasure of going up to see that for the first US date in New York in Madison Square Garden, where you had an entire arena full of fans singing along to every song for an album that just came out. It was amazing. So I love that album. It's really good. So yeah, our first few songs on that album. So this is for a number 5 album for me to say all this, but oh yeah, because it opened, like you mentioned, Wicker Man being a great song. I like Ghost of the Navigator. Brave New World's a great song, and Blood Brothers. Oh my goodness. Like that was probably the most memorable from seeing that, like everyone singing along to that song. It was excellent. I love that album. And then of course,
my number 5 is going to be 1981's Killers.
oh, cool. It's up there.
This one's a lot more, I think, straight ahead than the first album. I think it's heavier. It's leaner, meaner, probably, and most important, all the songs are almost right to the point. Wrathchild is a great metal song. Genghis Khan reminds me of very old 70s Rush, has like a real proggy feel to that one, but it's very interesting to hear that a groove in a Maiden song and was that Innocent Exile?
Oh yeah, that's an excellent song.
Very close to the first time I ever heard any Sabbath influence in Maiden and in that song, which is funny because most metal bands have Sabbath all over the place and they don't. But that song kind of reminded me a little bit of it. You can also hear where like all those thrash bands in the 80s, they always said, oh, killers. When you're listening, you can really hear it. Where like, like the early Metallica and Megadeth albums really kind of lifted, especially with the title track Killers. you
Yeah.
can really hear where the thrash bands really just kind of borrowed a hell of a lot
Sure.
from me.
If you're trying to write songs like Killers in the early 80s and you didn't have good equipment and you just turned up more distortion and maybe you didn't play all that great, it turned into thrash.
Sure. Yep. And I thought Prodigal Son was a really cool, different song for me.
It's an excellent.
You don't have a lot of songs that sound like that in their catalog. And
No.
the album, I think, what does the album clock in at? 35 minutes?
Yeah, it's
So,
short and
like,
sweet and to the point.
it's right to the point. It's good for my ADD brain. Well, Killers, number 5, Paul Di'Anno.
Nice. Oh, that's your first Paul Di'Anno album on the list, isn't it?
It is.
I think it is. Wow. That leaves. Whew. Okay, so we're getting them. 4 is going to be Somewhere in Time. Really hard decision, but an excellent album. I think getting into them early, with the earlier stuff, and then hearing it was a little bit strange with the polished sound, the over polishing and processing, the synths, the guitar synths and keyboards. There was a lot of guitar synth played on there. It's crazy. A lot of it. So like,
It's a lot.
there was some keyboard going on too, but a lot of that was done with guitar, and it was interesting. But the songwriting on that album is excellent. It really is. I even like Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, although that's because it's a really cool song to play. I remember it being an accomplishment for me in my teens when I learned how to play that song, and I was like, it actually sounds like the album. You know what song I'm playing, and it's not easy. So it was kind of cool. I love that album.
All right, my number 4 is going to be the first Iron Maiden album that I bought when I was 10 years old, and that is Peace of Mind.
Whoa.
Number 4.
Number 4, Peace of Mind.
Yep. Where Eagles Dare. Killer. Great song. Revelations, that bass line makes the song. Like that.
Oh,
Boom, boom,
yeah.
boom, 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 boom. So cool. And great lyrics too. Bruce wrote those lyrics, correct?
I think
He
so.
wrote the whole song. I don't think Steve Harris had anything to write.
No, I think that is a Bruce song.
That is a Bruce Dickinson pen song. For a metal band. For me, like, I mean, a lot of metal bands have very stylized lyrics. There's some beautiful lyrics in that song, and I think it gets overlooked. I think because it's Iron Maiden and because it's heavy. But anyone get a chance, next time you listen to it, really listen to the lyrics. It's excellent stuff. Play Vigorous, Essential Maiden, Soaring. It's a killer. I mean, it's amazing hook, great vocals. The Trooper, still sick of it. I just feel like you got to understand if you grew up around a lot of metal people in the 80s, you kind of got bludgeoned by the Trooper and Run to the Hills. So it's just one of those things. But Still Life, cool song. I still don't like Quest for Fire. I just never understood the idea. Even when I was a kid, I just never understood how a caveman can ask you to join his quest for fire. He can't speak. He's a caveman. I'm not sure how he's picking up a guitar and writing a song. He's a caveman. So I never understood that. When the dinosaurs roamed the earth, I don't know.
Yeah.
Rough one. I gotta be honest too. I think this might be the first time I ever listened to Tame a Land from beginning to end. Probably the last time too.
It's a little hard. I would say it keeps my attention better than the movies do.
Okay.
I maybe tried to watch the Dune movie, which by all accounts is an excellent sci-fi classic, and I have never made it through the thing awake.
Nah, I can't get through it. Nah. But I still think the album is the album doesn't fall off a cliff like a lot of the other ones do. You know what I mean? Like,
it ends on a high note.
yeah, holds my attention through most of the album. And To Tame a Land and Quest for Fire, I don't care about them, but and Die with Your Boots On is okay. But everything else in the album, I think is pretty classic Maiden. Number 4, Peace of Mind.
So we're at my number 3,
Yep.
which is Peace of Mind.
Aha.
I'm right there. Right, yeah, that is definitely a classic. I'll add that I think that initial opening of the album with the drums for Where Eagles Dare might be right up there with like the Phil Collins like everyone knows it, it's totally different. I'm not going to say it's sounds anything like it, but it's that iconic where everyone knows what song's coming.
And that's how the whole world was introduced to Nico McBrain.
Exactly. Yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So Peace of Mind, that's where I started really making notes of I think anyone that's a Maiden fan a little bit more than casually knows they love their B-sides to their singles, which is something they do even to this day. They'll pick a cover or they'll write some kind of wacky, zany song or, something strange, or they'll throw it together. And this is where we started getting some really good, actually, this isn't where it started. There, Somewhere in Time had some great B-sides as well. I think that there's so many of them now that there's a box set that can be put together that they put out of B-sides that they've done throughout their whole career. But Peace of Mind, they did Cross-Eyed Mary, which was an excellent version of it. And the really cool thing to hear about their B-sides, especially when you go back to the classic albums, is they have the feel and the sound and the production and the tone of that album. So you could hear one of their B-side songs and be like, well, that was from this era. That was when they did it during this album. It's obvious. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that's when they really started to stick out for me.
It's a very British thing.
Yeah.
The B-side thing, like all the post-punk bands that I'm like really into, they're all the same thing. Those bands actually put out box sets of their B-sides.
Yeah.
Like the Banshees and the Cure and stuff like that. And the B-sides are like, it's astonishing how good the B-sides are, and they're left off the albums. But a lot of British bands do that. Yeah. Cool. Well, my number 3 is going to be the debut, Iron Maiden.
Ooh, that's good. Good album.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't think I would care for the Paul Di'Anno albums this much. But now I listen to them, they're a little bit more up my alley, I think, where I'm at this point. I don't know. I guess it's maybe it's a little bit more of like a little punky edge to his stuff. Maybe he's very gruff and very, there's something about him that's just, I just really kind of connected with Paul Di'Anno. Go figure.
It sounded, if possible, a little more British at the time.
I think so.
Like it was just not so much like an accent kind of thing or a certain style of music, but just their whole attitude of it all together came up to me. It was very British.
Yeah. I think Prowler is what a great riff to start the whole thing off with. Wow, 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 wow. Great stuff. Remember Tomorrow kind of really reminds me of like 70s Priest in a way.
Yeah.
I
think
Running Free,
Priest of 70s Priest at the time too.
True. Yeah. Running Free, great classic rock song. And I do have to say too that it might have been the first time I listened to Phantom of the Opera straight through.
Ooh.
And I enjoyed it.
It's excellent.
I really liked it. Charlotte the Harlot isn't as good as I remembered it. I thought that was a better song. Iron Maiden, the song, I think is the only Di'Anno song that I think I prefer Bruce singing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because he's been singing it now for 40 years. So I guess
kind
of,
it sounds weird when you hear someone else singing it.
It kind of, sort of. And I do have to say too, I've heard the remaster of the debut album. It's leaps and bounds sounds better than the original.
Yeah.
Sometimes the remaster just comes out sounding louder and everything sounds flat and compressed. It didn't do that with this. So Um, and I just felt like, Deano, for for what he lacks in talent, he makes up for in pure attitude. So number 3, debut Iron Maiden.
Nice. But for me, number 2 was Power Slave. Power Slave
Okay.
is an
I thought that was going to be
excellent
your
album.
one.
I did too, and then I changed my mind, and then I went back, and then I argued. But yes, I had to settle somewhere, and I ultimately it came down to which one I will put on to and listen to now more. So I mean, I love Power Slave. There's not a song on that album I don't love. It changed metal. It really did. It came out and it was so, the sound and the production and the whole thing they did, and the show, the songwriting, the feel, the way that everyone wanted to do it. Everyone wanted to be it, and it was like the standard for metal in '84. And it's what really changed them from playing the smaller shows, maybe starting to headline clubs, to selling out arenas. Is when that album is, I think, what did it.
My number 2 is Number of the Beast.
Oh, Number of the Beast.
Yep. So I'm not sure. You might know. Was Invaders always the opening track on the album?
Yes.
Or did I just kind of skip over it all the time when I was a kid?
I did too.
Okay. I just don't. Why would you? I can't believe that the world's introduction to Bruce Dickinson with Iron Maiden is Invaders.
It was Invaders. Yes.
Good thing I didn't turn the album off, but because Children of the Damned is a metal classic, even if it does sound a bit like Beyond the Realms of Death, the beginning there by Priest.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's excellent.
22 Casey Avenue is probably the sleaziest song in their catalog. Probably Why It Rocks. I don't know what he's saying. Is he saying 50 quid or 15 quid?
I think it's 15 quid.
50. Okay, good, because 15 is a bit low.
No, I think it is 15.
Oh, it's 15.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 15.
Wow, even for 1982, that's kind of low.
Yeah.
Yes, Charlotte may want to maybe raise her prices for inflation, maybe.
Well, that probably did go up a little bit since what, in 19? Was the price ever mentioned in Charlotte the Harlot?
Not in the first one. It's mentioned in 22 in Casey Avenue.
Okay, so
but regardless, doesn't matter. She's fucking 73 years old now, so
now it might be 15 quid. The price came back down due to demand.
Oh god, yeah. So I mean, you're right. Number of the Beast, sick of it. It's kind of a stupid song. I'm not offended by the song. It's just silly.
Yeah,
I don't really care about it. And I just could you explain to me why Godzilla's in the video?
Because it's 1982.
Godzilla's in the video for Number of the Beast.
That's the best reason I have, is because
That's the stock footage they got a hold of. Is that why?
Yeah, there's almost that whole video is stock footage.
Almost all the early videos of stock footage.
Yeah, it's like they pull. Oh, here's a movie we like. Let's throw that in there. Like, here's a clip of someone getting scalped. I don't know. Like, yeah, sure, that looks good. Oh, I think this is a Wild West movie. Yep, throw that in there too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of people being scalped, Run to the Hills. Probably the song that's most identified with Iron Maiden. If you ask the layman,
that entire video is stock footage, if I remember
correctly. Yeah, so it's the Trooper.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, yes, it is. Yeah,
the video is pretty bad.
They may have been made after the fact. Those videos may have been produced in like the later '80s once Maiden got big.
No, those were the videos when they came out.
Really?
That was their promo videos. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Oof. Hallowed Be Thy Name is fucking epic. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe gun to my head, that might be my favorite Iron Maiden song. If like you ask me right now, what's your favorite album? I'm just Hallowed Be Thy Name. But I do have to say the inclusion of Gangland and Invaders holds this album down at number 2. It might have been number 1 if it wasn't for those 2 songs. But those 2 songs, no album on any list with those 2 songs on it are going to be number 1.
Yeah, that's gonna do it.
And so I know what your number one is, so you can go ahead and know that. But I I don't. Yeah, go ahead. But mine is not what I thought my number one was going to be.
No, I'm trying to figure out what you got left, and I'm curious now. Like, what did I miss? But so we got to my number one, which makes your choice for this album so much more curious to me. But it is Seventh Son, of a Seventh Son.
Uh,
It's for me, it's the album I remember most significantly waiting for it to come out. You know, hearing the Sing Can I Play What Van Ness got released, and it felt like I waited 8 years from the time that single got released to the album came out. You know,
it was two.
it was like it was like 2 months, if that.
Right.
It was summer, and I was like 14 years old, 13 years old. Yes, it might as well have been 8 years. I was like waiting. Is it out yet? Is it out yet? Is it out yet? But you mentioned the guitar tone. While it is different, and I can see it not being everyone's taste, I love that tone. It has
Really?
it gels with the bass and the drums in such a way that no one else has got it to sound like that, including Maiden. They got that sound for that album and never came back to it, and it's very unique. That album has
Unique
great
it is.
insights. Yes,
Unique it is.
it is. With a little bit, so they went more keyboards, and I think they were done with the keyboard synth at that point, and they just had keyboards. But I love that album, beginning to end, epic, sing along, the songwriting, the intricacies of the way the music stops and comes back in, and I love it. I love everything about it. It never get old for me. It's classic.
It's funny. Like all the reasons you stated for it being number one were all the reasons why I had it at number, what was that,
Like
12 or whatever it
number
was.
12 or something. You're like, oh, this just sounds like ass.
All right. So I guess here's the big. So my number one,
Number one.
shocking to even me, is Fear the Dark.
Oh, wow. That is
Yeah.
shocking. Yeah, that's what you're missing. Okay.
Yeah. So it dawned on me while I'm listening to it that the less that Maiden gallops, the more I like it. Um, I just think, I mean, a lot of the stuff is like a lot of history lessons and fantasy and, you know,
Or
which much of it just kind of goes over my head or just doesn't resonate with me. It just doesn't keep me interested, you know. I kind of run on like emotion, so I want to hear like what you're feeling. Tell me what you're feeling. I don't want to be, you know. But this album is more about rocking and mood and atmosphere, um, and with a lot of added attitude on top of it.
yeah, there is.
I think, you know, after Seventh Son, I think that No Prayer was a step in the right direction, but I think this was the next step. And I think it was a more refined, better, more well-written version of what they were trying to do with No Prayer. I think that Fear is the Key. It's a really cool song. Kind of reminds me of Rainbow. Bruce kind of reminds me a little bit of Ian Gillan on a couple of tracks here with his vocals in Deep Purple. The guitar tones are way more aggressive. Lots of like 70s UFO type influences in the songs. I think Maiden are at their best is when they step out of their comfort zone, but not so much that they lose their identity. But these songs are generally more to the point. Not a real line. I don't think the longest song on the album, I think, tops out at about 5 minutes.
Fear of the Dark is a little longer.
I think Fear of the Dark might be almost 7. But
yeah,
that's
but you don't notice it because the song is so excellent.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, I got Be Quick or Be Dead, and From Here to Eternity. Really cool opening tracks for the album. The 1-2 punch in the gut. Fear is the Key. Wasting Love is so different than everything else in their catalog, but it's really cool. I think it's some of Bruce's best vocals on that song. Fear of the Dark, the song, excellent. I've never heard this album until now.
Really, none of it.
Well, I heard the title track, And I
Yeah,
think I
probably.
might have heard Be Quick or Be Dead.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
Be Quick or Be Dead was the single. The album came out, and that was
was
the
it?
the video,
So
I
that would
believe.
be why I heard it. But I
Mhm.
gotta be honest, there's no bad songs, no nothing that annoys me about the album. Um, most of these songs are just really kind of just rock, and it's
It's very
aggressive.
solid. They're very solid.
Yes, I mean,
There's no
there's nothing
really filler in that.
floaty or pretty or anything about these songs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no like, there's none of that on this album.
No, nope, they didn't mess around with any of that. They were like,
No.
cut that
So I mean,
out.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what the Iron Maiden fan consensus is with that album.
You might upset a few with that being your number one, but I think I may have done that too. So all
Yeah,
right.
I
But I mean,
mean,
that's an excellent album that I don't think any true Maiden fan dislikes.
and I think it's got the coolest album cover too, if that means anything.
Yeah, he's a tree.
Yeah, Evil Tree.
Evil Tree Eddie. It's a good album. It's good number one choice. Surprising, weird, but good. I can't really argue. I can't argue
Yeah,
with it.
I would not have thought. I mean, I forgot about the album. I never even heard it before.
17 album review.
17 album review, kind of a marathon. Very interesting. I mean, my metal fandom is kind of here and there. I do have little spurts. Doing a 17 album jaunt of Iron Maiden, I'm probably good on Iron Maiden quite a lot.
Quite a while.
That being said, it wasn't torture.
Well,
Well,
that was fun.
that was it. That's our Iron Maiden album ranking. Why don't you people give us your opinions? Give us some feedback here in the comments. Give us a like. Hit that little notification bell for notifications. We have some more rankings coming up. We have Dr. Byrne and I will be doing the ranking for the Pulp discography coming up in about a week or so. And Mr. Bry here and I have to figure out what rock discography we're going to do next, maybe for next month.
Nice.
And but check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The links will be in the bottom, and that's where you can find out where we're going to do our next rankings. But hit that notification bell. Thanks a lot.
Nice.
Talk to you.
Later.
See you.